Hi, hello, and how are you, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Emerging Elite Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fowkes, joined by our all star crew of coaches from around the country. If it's your first time tuning in, here's how it works: we spin the wheel of topics, we land on a topic, and we let the conversation fly. It could be about training cycles, championship moments, or simply the chaos of meet day and being a coach. You never know where it's headed. So, with that said, buckle up, folks. On your mark, get set, let's go. Coop, why don't you start us off?
Hi, Coach Megan. I mainly coach vault.
All right, Kaya
And I'm Kaya. I'm primarily coach multis and then jumps.
and Frankie.
Hi, I'm Francis. Sean's the only person that can call me Frankie. I coach the sprints, the jumps, mid distance now. You know, my high school coach. I coach everything. So,
And I'm our resident throws guy. So if you're tuning in for the first time, the last episode that we did, we kind of ended with a little bit of conversations about the 4x4s that were going on at the World Championships. And that led us to some after podcast conversations, which is really going to lead us into our first topic of the night. Kaya, you brought it up, so why don't you pose it to the group here?
Yeah, so I had a conversation. I had seen a coach and some athletes that were out, in like August time, spiked up doing full repeats, and it really brought up the question about how early is too early to spike up. So
All
you
right,
think about it.
I'm gonna start it. So
Yeah.
I would say it depends. Okay. So like my high school athletes, I tell them no. I usually wait until about November for my entire team. But with my vaulters, in vaults, I believe that spikes affect your run on the runway and it messes up your step. So I think in October, as long as you're only vaulting like once or twice a week, I think is reasonable. And only on the pole vault runway, personally, in my opinion. Now, because I am also training to jump in January, I've been spiked up since let's see, I started training in July and I spiked up in August. So because I'm only going till January and then I'm shutting myself down and I don't have to worry about shins because I'm not training every day like high schoolers and stuff. I'm only training 3 times a week. So like I don't have to worry about saving my shins and work my shins all the way through an entire high school season, you know? So there's definitely a time and a place, but I do think that when it comes to um any of the jumping events, spikes do have a purpose in regards to their run. So that's why I say there is a time and place for it.
Yeah, because I will say when we were in college, we did 8 weeks of hell. And during those 8 weeks, like that's primarily conditioning, so we didn't really spike up at all. And I remember taking pictures the night before we would spike up with all my spikes, had my new spikes put in them, and I was like, tomorrow's the day we get to spike up. And so like, yeah, we'd usually get through conditioning and everything first.
Hmm.
And then it still would only be on days we were actually doing approaches. Now, as a pro athlete, I don't think I'll really spike up until when I'm just doing approaches and the week before the meet because I'm old.
yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as Megan. It depends. It depends on the event. Depends on the task. Um, like for my high jumpers, like my high jumpers are going to be starting next week. Like I want them in their high jump spikes because of the traction, the curve, the rhythm of their approach. Um, with my sprint athletes, I August is way early. Like especially for like full length reps. But like once I start with them, I'm fine with them like spiking up to do block work. Especially like if they hurdle as well. Like same thing, rhythm with the approach. Um, but if anything over 100 meters, like I want them in trainers. Like even during the season, um, I want them in trainers as much as I can. Like if I want them running something like fast, I'll let them know. But I find with my kids, like it's just too much wear and tear. Like on the calves, on the shins, like it's just a little too much load. Yeah, because all my kids, they all do jumps and hurdles and sprints and everything. So anything I could do to save their life a little bit, uh, yeah, I'm all for it.
I've seen a few different approaches in the places I've been at. I've seen some coaches that want to spike up as early as possible because they want to get the reps in before the weather turns. Because for them, they're like, hey, we have an outdoor 400, but our indoor is too small for the tight curves to really make the most of it. And so you're going to be limited on how fast you can go in those sort of situations. So they're like, let's get as much done as we can in the early part. Then we can transition it back, do a lot more stuff in our indoor, and then work on our starts and whatnot in our smaller training spaces. But I've also been in places where we didn't have a track. And so for us is like almost constantly trainers, right? And so those rare times when we got to spike up, we tried to spike up as much as we could. Right? And so that might be a couple times a week. Sometimes at one of the schools I was at, we were able to use a indoor soccer facility, and they're like, yeah, spike up, do whatever you got to do, like just have at whatever you need. That was really great. But I don't know. I mean, the place that had like the tighter indoor track, we saw a lot of like shin, calf, ankle stuff. And
Was
so
it banked?
nope, flat.
Huh,
But it
interesting.
but it was essentially designed to be a walking track, not a sprinting track. So
Mm.
those curves were so tight. I think they said that mathematically they couldn't go faster than a 23-second 200. Otherwise, they'd hit the wall.
Huh. Okay.
And so trying to train anyone at like a high end speed on that is just, it's really tough, right? So I can understand why they'd want to do some stuff early in the fall, like for some of those reps,
Mhm.
but not all. And then you get into, well, I've coached this high end athlete and this and that, and it's like, yes, but all of your athletes are now hurt. So where's the benefit, right? Like for me, I would love to see trainers or even barefoot on grass,
Mhm.
some stuff if we could, just to be able to like build that strength in the foot and the ankle early and then ease our way into trainers, then ease our way into the spikes kind of before, I don't know, for me it'd be probably a week or two before Thanksgiving break. I'd like to do that
Okay.
just because for some schools, like at the college level, you'll have a meet right before Christmas break. So you're going to have to at least have some spikes on for, a week or so before that.
Mhm.
Then you're going to be gone for a month. And hopefully your kids have access to a track, right?
Mhm.
But if they don't,
Yeah,
well,
some of them will usually go back to their old high schools and train 'cause that's when a lot of my former athletes will come back out and they'll hit me up, be like, Coach, when's practice? Or when are you going to be on the track? So that way I can do some stuff. I mean, luckily, it seems like college coaches don't give them like block work or anything while they're gone. It's just kind of like maintaining. But some of mine will be like, hey, I want like some of the equipment as well. Like I would like to do like mini hurdles or a little bit of block work or even hurdle a little bit, depending on the athlete. So,
well, and given your area where you're at in California, like when they come back, like the weather's nice enough they can go out and spike. But in the
yeah.
Midwest or
Yeah.
out east, it's like they're going back to trainers if they're in hallways and whatnot because they might not have
Mhm.
a rollout track, and that's still a benefit, right? Versus like trying to pound away for a month on their own in spikes and maybe push themselves to injury over break.
Well, and Sean, question for you, as somebody
Yeah,
who works with throwers but isn't a throws coach, how much do you do in throw shoes at practice?
Ooh, good one. Turning it around.
yeah.
Other
So for
you don't
me,
like,
Literally.
and
I
same thing
do.
with trap shoes, I guess too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do a ton. Like
Okay.
Yeah.
even from like the beginning of the fall, we'll do our warm up, we'll get through, and maybe base work for some kids because like in the smaller schools I've coached at, you're going to get some kids who've never thrown before in like weight and hammer or jav, and maybe some of the athletes you get because in some of the NAIA and D3s, you're looking for roster numbers, right? So like you're taking warm bodies sometimes they might not have throwing shoes. So like for them, they're going to do everything in their tennis shoes until they can get throwing shoes. But for me, no, get your warm up done, get your hurdle mobility, any sort of sprint and speed work done, right? But once it comes to drills, you're getting your shoes on and we're going. Like I love getting throws in the fall, especially for like weight and hammer throwers. It's like I like doing hammer as the base in the fall and then transition it into weight because I think that it's easier to train it on the lighter weight of the hammer
Yeah.
than have to learn to hold your posture and core going into weight.
Hmm.
And so that first year becomes the all right, let's use this as the template for like building through this, right? If they've never had experience with it. If they've had experience with it, it's a little different, right? But if they've never had experience, hammer first, then weight, because then when we come back to spring season and they're transitioning back to the hammer's not as foreign to them anymore. They can usually hold their position in their core a little bit better because it's almost been overweight training with the weight. And so their hammer in the spring tends to be a little bit stronger. So like I kind of sandwich weight in there a little bit.
Hmm.
Nothing against the weight. Like I really enjoy the weight throw event. But there's something to be said about a lot of the elite level world class hammer throwers around the rest of the world, not US, but around the rest of the world, they don't do weight throw at their national championships. Like there is no weight throw at the world athlete or world athletics indoors, right?
Hmm.
Like we're one of the few countries that really puts that out there. So I think there's a difference there. Now, as far as like the jab spikes, I have no problem with people spiking up and doing like their basic drills, especially when they're starting to learn those footwork positionings. Um, but I don't need them to spike up if we're just walking through stuff in the beginning of the fall,
That's fair.
right? Like once we start to apply a little bit more speed, and I'm going to need them to actually hold that block, even if it's from a 50% jog, then I want the spike simply for athlete safety.
That makes
Right? I
sense.
don't need somebody slipping and sliding on
Yeah.
a track surface in August or
Yeah.
September, and then, well, you're done for the year. Let's rehab you. Like, no, nobody wants that.
I got two follow-up questions for that. So, like, okay, I feel like throw-in shoes are so different than spikes because in throws, you're not really having a lot of ground point contact versus like sprinting. So you don't necessarily have to worry about the shins like sprinters and jumpers and hurdlers have to do, right? Like, so that's why it doesn't matter, I guess, in a throws way, like how early you put on throw shoes.
I think it matters from the sense of how well they're being trained. And I mean this from this perspective. I've seen coaches out there who try and keep everyone on the balls of their feet and everything that they do, never really like try and get them to get like a flat base at any point in the throw. And throwers end up with some shin splints because they're not used to carrying all that load right there, right?
Okay.
But if you can effectively coach it, which is most throws coaches out there, right? So we're talking about like the rare cases when that happens. But most throws coaches know that you're training in such a way that most of the things you do, especially from the weight room carrying over, you're not going to have that issue. Like
Okay.
one thing that really annoys me is when coaches are like, let's do a 400 and let's do another one for throwers. It's like if you're a shot and disc thrower, I'm sorry, you're only going to be competitive for 2 to 3 seconds in your throw. That's it.
Yeah.
Like you don't need 400 meters or something, unless maybe you're a jab thrower. Like I could see
Fair.
that building
Yeah.
endurance there, but
Yeah.
like outside of that, absolutely not. Like I think it's pointless. And I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers with that. Don't care.
Okay.
Well, I know like my throw shoes, they hurt the arch of my foot
Oh,
if I have them on too long because there's nothing in there.
So some of that though is also the type of throw shoe that you do, right? So like I'm going to guess that if your throw shoes hurt because of that arch, do you have Nikes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nikes have a super high arch in their throwing shoe, especially if you do their Zoom rotationals, which is more of like a hard plastic bottom. Um, Adidas do a really good job with not putting so much pressure on the arch. It relies more on the athlete to maintain that high ball of the foot positioning. And so you have to trust yourself a little more as an athlete. Some of the other ones like Mizuno, They've done some decent stuff. I haven't seen enough of the Sauconys or Sauconys or however you want to pronounce them. I've heard them pronounced both ways. Um, I haven't seen enough of those to really know. I know like way back in the day, I think it was Adam Nelson like help with some of those, but even he was like super high
Mm,
on the ball of his foot with those
mhm.
from like the few times I saw him, right? But there's a reason why, you know, Under Armour, Adidas, Nike are the primary throwing shoes ones. But to be fair, though, to be fair, the absolute best throwing shoe, in my opinion, are Velasas. They're a company out of Minnesota. You know, they're a throwing. Uh, for me, they're kind of like a throwing powerhouse because they sponsor a lot of throwers. They do a lot of good stuff. They have their own weightlifting shoes too. They have
Yeah.
trainers and whatnot. But like, I have never had as much comfort and stability as I've ever had in a Velocity throwing shoe. Like in a wet ring, they feel like they've got grip, and in a dry ring, I feel like I'm not stuck in place. I like
Interesting.
it's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
So I've only had one pair, and I made myself throw 10 meters before I allowed myself to get a pair of throwing shoes. Then I felt like a real thrower.
Sean, can you spell that in case someone listening wants
Oh
to
yeah.
look that up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Like
should be
for
Velaassa. Yeah,
Velaassa.
I can actually go to. Let me pull up the website for those that might be interested, and I can plug that in there real quick. But yeah,
Maybe a
I got
future sponsor.
right. I got a I got a pair a while back, and I absolutely love it. It's Velasa.com, Vellaasa
Hey,
dot
hey.
com. But their throwing shoes are phenomenal. Now,
Is this the company you told me about with wrist wraps? Or is
no,
that
that
a
was
different
Roadie Sport. That was
Roadie Sport?
Justin.
Okay.
So Justin Roadie, who threw for the Canadian national team, he has these Roadie Sport wrist wraps. They have some that are like the Bear glove, some that are hammer gloves, but he has a specific shot put glove to help like strengthen your wrist while you're
Ooh.
training through it. Phenomenal stuff. And even some of the stuff where he's like, they're like after or like defected leather type stuff is still a great value and a great price. But it's one of those where if you're serious about what you're doing, you're probably going to look at something like that.
Ooh.
But
Interesting.
kind of going off that though, like what training tools do you guys use in your events that you're like, this is the one, like if you're going to do it, you got to do it with this.
Oh, okay. So mine, oh my God, why can't I not remember the name of it? But Ryland Vaults makes it. Oh, Angle Bar. It's called Angle Bar. So like that is one of my go-tos and it really helps vaulters get in the bucket. So it has like this like blue piece. It's hard to explain, but it moves up and down so their feet will grab onto it and they can move it up and down. So they start in the bucket. So essentially like they're like this and then it helps them like learn to get the extension and get out of the bucket and get the hips elevated. And they're very low to the ground on it, so they don't feel like too high because that's the main problem in vault is when the kids do get inverted for the first time and because they're so high, they're like, ah, and flip out and fall out of it super quick and stuff. So having something that kind of hangs like low to the ground, depending on what kind of pull-up bar you use or anything like that, is super beneficial. And then my second go-to training device is the swing up rack. So the swing up rack is you can hang it on a pull-up bar and it's like bars that go down and it helps keeps the shoulders engaged because that's a lot of the problem with the vaulters too is they don't have the shoulders engaged and they're like more arching with their back than their shoulders. Because when you hit with the vault, you're supposed to hit back like this and then you move forward because you have a backward C when you're in your takeoff. And then so that's really helping keeping the shoulders engaged and keeping the pressure on it. And if kids don't have the core to actually go upside down, there's two ways you can use the device. So you can either have like a stick in it against like a pull-up bar, so that way it doesn't move at all, or you can take the stick out and it can be any stick. It's not like it comes with a stick or anything. I just used one of my old broken crossbars that I just cut up. You can push the kids to kind of help them at least see how it feels to get elevated and get the hips up and off the ground.
So is this the same one I've seen where it's like it goes like the whole length of their back down? So like they kind of like it sits against their back and as they come up, like it swings with them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay.
You've probably seen me post it a few times too. because I'm in a couple of his promotional videos. Actually, it's like a really it's a red container, and I'm wearing like a jeans, and I'm wearing like a white shirt. I have my glasses on, and I was he recorded me a couple times doing it as well.
And
So
you're telling me sponsored. That's one. Big jerk.
Um, but those are definitely my go-to, and I would say any pole vault coach out there, PVC pipes for the win, man. You can do so many drills as a pole vaulter with PVC pipes. Just go pick it up at like your Lowe's, Home Depot. I don't know if Ace Hardware has it because I don't have one out here in my town, but
Same with
like
Rose.
yeah,
You know,
it really helps big time. So I literally have probably 10 of 10-foot long ones, and then I have like 10 of 2 feet ones. So my little 2 feet ones I call my stubbies. So it's stubbies or PVC pipes. And I do lots of drills with them, and it helps.
Nice.
Yeah, you kind of took
I'm
my answer with you took my answer with the PVC pipe.
Well,
I'm
then
kind of
explain how you use it in your events, Kai.
I mean, I'm old school. I came from a town of like 2,000 people, you know. We had like nothing for track. I mean, w we shouldn't have won state my senior year. None of us expected it. It just sort of lined up and happened. But my favorite thing is, I mean, I'll make like little 2 foot hurdles just to
Oh,
get the kids going over hurdles, especially at the high school stage, because it's like once they can get the rhythm and get over those, it's like it's nothing to add just the regular hurdle. And it's like if they knock over a PVC hurdle, it's not going to hurt them.
I
Whereas
guess.
so many of them are so afraid of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's how I started too, because I didn't start hurdles until I was 20 something. This was after my first college that I started the hurdles for the multis. And yeah, either the hurdles or, I mean, I've built even high jump standards out of plyo or out of PVC pipe.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
nice.
And so either that or little 6 inch boxes,
Yes.
the little wood like 6 inch
Uh-huh.
boxes
Mm-hmm.
and all that for getting penultimate and everything down.
I make slide boxes out of
That's
wood too. Yeah, because the plastic slide boxes that some companies make for pole vault, they're not true dynamics of the box. They're actually like a little bit like shorter and stuff, and I just don't think it's fair for the vaulters to try and plant and vault in something that's not true box dimensions. So I literally like have this spreadsheet, and I've shared it with Frankie too, that like you can literally make it out of what was it, plywood and like 2x4s and a bunch of wood.
Plywood, plywood and 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch
Yeah.
plywood and 2x4s.
Yeah. So it's very easy to make, very inexpensive. And I make like 5 or 6 of them for like maybe $200. Like it's not terrible. And then I'm bougie and I spray paint mine. So you know who they belong to. So mine are black and gold. I go a little extra with mine just to fancy it up. But it's nice to have too, because then if you don't have access to a pit and you're teaching basics to vaulters, you can literally take it to the jump pits, build a little hole in the sand, put it in there, and then it can act like it's a box. Now, obviously, it doesn't go down like an actual box does, but at least gives newbies an idea what a box looks like and how to properly plan in it when you're working in the sand.
Yeah, for me, I build a lot of boxes. I do the 6 inch box. I go to Tractor Supply, but then I think Tractor Supply is the only place I found it. I'll get like the horse stall mats,
Mm.
and I'll do a top layer of that, so my kids can put spikes on and actually feel comfortable like
Oh, that's what you
running
put
and
on
jumping
it.
off of
Okay.
it.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
so like I'll get like a 3x4 sheet, cut it down to 2x3, and I'll make a couple boxes out of it. So I have a few 6 inch boxes, a few 3 inch boxes I made this year for a triple jump. I've got these big, like I made these are the first boxes I made. They were huge, 3x4 feet, which is way too big. But I uh I stuck eye bolts on the side and I hook elastic bands to those, and
Oh,
I'll use that as like kind of like a makeshift what's it called? The Raptor? What's it called?
The Vertimax?
resistance?
Vertimax, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll use it as a makeshift Vertimax.
I remember
Um
you showing me that. That thing was pretty dope.
It's too
Right.
heavy to move. But like I'll use that, like I'll strap the kids in with the boxes and I'll have them do I'll use either like band assisted like approach or like I'll just use them have them do like pogos on the box. Um what's it called? I need to take a look at this angle bar. I tried to jerry rig a TRX and like PVC pipe to make my own, and I think this is probably going to be more effective than making my own.
Oh, really? I haven't shown you angle bar?
You
There's
probably
no
did.
way.
You probably did. I probably wasn't paying attention.
Okay. I was like, dude,
Um,
that's like my go-to because that's how I helped James head coach was I was like, go get an angle bar. And then that's when they called me and told me their girl PR'd by like, what did they say, a foot or something like that? And she won champs.
I saw
And
him
her-
today. We were at a cross country meet today, so we were
Oh,
talking some shop.
nice.
So I made a pole vault rack too, like a storage rack.
Oh,
He
that's right.
likes it. Sleds. I made sleds. I spend more money at Home Depot than like actual track supply stores. So I
So
think this year I might, before you go into that one, Sean, I think this year I might try my hand at one of those like ramp boxes. I don't quite know how I'm gonna put that together, but I think I'm gonna try.
I need a I want, oh my God, I had the name for it and then I forgot what it was. I want like it's not a pile box. I want like a tower box almost. So it's kind of like a platform. There you go. That's the word I was looking
Mm,
for. I want a platform next because I really like. So I do this one drill and it's with pile boxes, and I just feel like pile boxes aren't big enough for me to actually accomplish what I want in the drill, but it works for now. But I want like a platform. And so that way, because I do what is called slam pit. Not everyone calls it slam pit. Everyone has other names, but pretty much it's the vaulter would be on the platform and then I'll be in the box. And what happens is because it's a plow box, they only really get to just do a pickup, which means they just pick up their jump foot, step, jump, and then plant that down to jump and go. So I would like a platform so we can at least do like a one, maybe even a two step, add a little bit of energy into it. And then so I'm in the box and I'm pretty much their momentum in a way. So they'll jump and then I'll pull the pull. And it's really to focus on them swinging and like getting inverted and feeling the pull when it unloads. Because when I'm pulling on it and they're jumping into it, like it unloads a little bit. So you can do it on, I don't do it on necessarily soft pulls. I do it on a little bit stiffer pulls for the kids because I really want them to just get a feel of that stall moment that sometimes happens before the pull unloads. That's what I need to make next. And I don't even know where to start. So if anyone got dimensions for a platform, hit your girl up.
mm. I've got one more that it's been kind of useful for me the past year. I got a gymnastics springboard, with like
Ooh.
the huge heavy duty springs and stuff. Like
Hmm.
I've been using that with my high jumpers.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was having a hard time with my high jumpers is just the timing over the bar and like getting rotation. Um, and like when they were when they were, jumping at 5'10", 6 foot, like the timing just wasn't enough because they're in the air for just that much little bit more. So like I was using the springboard to artificially give them jump height, which was giving them more time in the air to kind of get used to getting their layout, getting their hips up. Um, it helped a little bit. But like I was only really using it with like my advanced jumpers. Like I wasn't going to use that with like day one freshmen. Um, but like they were able, like one of my kids, like he was able to jump like 7 foot off the springboard, but he had the timing to be able to kind of rise through the air, be patient with his layout, and then that's been one that's been a big changer for me this year. But where else could I get some track supply equipment, Sean?
where else could you get some track supply equipment? There are so many different outlets out there. I know one of the ones I love going to is Gale Athletics. Um, Gale does a wonderful job of making sure that all of your needs are met, and they've got a great customer service team. I think their business development manager, Mike Cunningham, I think I got his title wrong last time, so hopefully I'm closer this time. They just do a wonderful job with their team, and I know they're outfitting so many different championships, but they really are passionate about what they do with that. So I'm biased. I love their stuff. I like always debate about wearing my Gill Athletics hat that I have like on one of these, but then I'm going to be like, pandering. Uh, but as you guys were talking about some of those things, there's one other training tool I like. I haven't necessarily made, but Frankie, you and I saw this when we were at convention a couple years ago. It was the light speed lift, the
Oh,
sprint
that one.
trainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
So
one a lot.
so when we were at USTF CCCA convention in Denver, there was a guy there that was doing light speed lift, and it was like on the curved um,
On a
treadmills, right?
woodway or something. Yeah.
Yep, with like no like buttons or anything, just so like just keep rolling with it. But then he had this rack around it, and you could strap in a harness to like take some of the weight off of you while you were sprinting
Hmm.
and help you go through. Like it was such a cool device. Like I really love the idea, especially like in the situation I was in at the time. We were at a place where like we couldn't do a lot of our super high end stuff because we didn't have enough track, right? Like indoors wise in the winter, it was just like rough luck. One of those would have been a game changer for us. So I always want to make sure like I'm throwing that one in the mix too. Um, but there was one thing I really liked, and Kaya, I don't know if you ever did this with jab stuff. Um, I liked using PVC pipe to train jab throwers, like if they're in the beginning. But what we did was we took wires and fixed one to the floor and one up higher. And the more it rattles, the worse the release is. The smoother it is, the better the release. Like I don't know if you ever did that where you were at.
Yeah, we worked on that a couple times in college, and I think we took it down for a little bit because we couldn't figure out how to get the friction to go away.
Mm. Yeah, I
But I
think
think we were just using some rope and a little piece of PVC. It was
okay.
pretty. And we didn't really at the time have a true like javelin coach.
Yeah.
I didn't get one till like my last year there.
Well, another thing that's well, and again, not to like pander to Gil here. Gil does this like pocket jab, right? So it's the same weight as a regular jab, like 600, 800 gram, but it's only about like maybe this long, right? So it can fit right in your bag, but it has that same weight. It has the cording on it. So you can have that feel and that carry as you're going through a lot of your drills without ever having to worry about like stabbing someone while you're going down the runway. Because, in some of those rec centers, it's just a free for all, people walking and coming and going. And sometimes people aren't looking on the walking track or running track, and nobody wants to become a shish kebab right before finals. Like nobody does.
Well, I have a funny story once about how I got pretty dang close to Saban's helicopter when
Okay,
I was training once.
you can't like lead that in
Yeah, that part.
Yeah.
I
I'm
was
waiting.
the conversation. Like,
No,
like,
he flew in to recruit a kid from the high school that I trained at and helped coach at. And we didn't know he was coming or anything, so I'm throwing jab and everything, and they leave, they go in to go to school and all that, so I kind of go back to throwing jab, and we throw like up over the fence. And I got a little too close for comfort, and I was like, yeah, I think we're done for today. I don't want to explain that one.
now was that when he was at Bama?
Yep.
Well,
He was
as long as you didn't say War Eagle, I think you're fine.
oh yeah. It's just it wasn't really close, but I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna call it just in case somebody else walks out up there. Call it a day.
Wow. All right. Well, with those topics out of the way so far, I think it's time for our first spin of the wheel for the night. So, super excited. Let's see if we can do this right. I'm going to try and share the screen with it. See if we can get this. Da 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 da. Wheel of Destiny. Here we go. Going to spin that wheel. And our topic. Oh, goodness. See if I can pull it over here. How do you deal with athletes with a general poor attitude?
This
Right,
one was mine.
I was going to say, I already saw somebody being excited that we're pulling this up.
I don't know if I'm excited because the topic itself, but yeah, how do you guys deal with an athlete with a general poor attitude? Like you have the kid who's like, they're dogging every workout, they complain about everything, they talk smack about every team, including other teams at your own school, like, and it's just, they how do you because like it's hard, right? Like there's the t-shirt that everyone has, my sport is your sport's punishment. So it's like, well, what do you do with a kid that does track or cross country and it's just a pain in the ass? Like, do you make them run more? Like that's what you do as a coach, but like also like we already run a lot, so and that kid, the individual that prompted this question quit earlier this week, so now it's not my problem. But I'm curious how you guys deal with athletes, especially like Sean with like your college kids, where it's like, well, they wanted to be there. So I wish Ramel was still here because the same deal. Like
Yeah.
they want to be at the school. So it's like, well, how do you deal with a kid who all of a sudden just does not want to be there at all?
I mean, I feel like Kai and I can probably talk from like that club and college perspective because we've both probably seen it like as athletes as well as the coach side. But Coop, like since you've been primarily at the high school level or club level, do you kind of want to start us off and then we can kind of work our way back up?
Okay, so this is difficult in the high school setting, especially because they're still trying to figure out who they are as people. Like they're still trying to figure out their personalities. They're trying to figure out where their puzzle piece fits in this gigantic world, and stuff like that. So, in a high school setting and probably even like a club or youth athletic setting as well, it's all about patience with them. Like, I feel like definitely their family values have a lot to play into it as well. And sometimes a lot of it too is not, it's more of a self-defense mechanism, you know? So I know people out there that will say that kind of thing to make them look tough because they know they have no one in their corner. So it's kind of like a self-defense mechanism type thing. So I think it's all about talking to the athlete, trying to see why we're saying those things, because in reality, like you never know what's going on. You'll never get the full picture from your athletes. If they tell you something, cool, but they may not give you the full picture and you may just get a little snippet of it. So there could be something going on in the personal life, and that's why they're snippy like that and everything too. So that's where it gets super tricky. But I would always remind them like, look, you're on a team. Yes, track is individual sport, but we still come together and win a plaque together. We come together and we win championship rings together. So you either got to play your part and be a teammate or go find another sport because track is a community. Track is one of the few sports out there that you're not like, oh God, I hate you because you're wearing another school's like jersey and stuff like that. Like that's not the case like it is for like football or basketball or soccer, Like we're all here to still congratulate each other. You look at the world champion meets and stuff like that. After the athletes cross the finish line, they're still hugging each other and saying congrats to them and everything. Like, yes, you have those moments to where someone sparks something else with somebody and then it becomes news and it's like, oh, they were rude at the meet. And I'm like, bro, it's competitiveness at the same time too. So that's so hard. And what I try to do is those are the I don't want to say like I don't just get on those kids. Like I get on everybody on my team. I try to have a personal conversation with all of them and get to know them as individuals as well, but I feel like those kids just sometimes need that extra support and you just need to like kind of dive in a little bit deeper and be like, okay, is this really who we're going to be as a person in this world or is there something going on that's making you act like this? Francis, you got to follow up on me because you're high school as well. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's part of it. Like this is where like I appreciate that because like this is my first year as a head coach. So I'm like, well, I don't know how to, like I don't want to punish the kid, But like, he was just being just kind of a jerk, like all around. Like he was, dogging workouts, like basically walking workouts and be like, no, coach, I'm working hard. And I'm like really?
Hmm.
The one that kind of got me like a little bit was like we were running like real hard 200s. There's a white paper I read. I was talking about it with John a little bit, but basically like they did a study on like well-trained endurance athletes over 6 periods or a 6 week period if they did like 2 times a week, like really hard, like training for like the sprints, like basically 10 by 200, 3 minutes, 30 rest. Um, and I'm like, my season's 6 weeks long. Like, why not? I'll try it. Um, and like the result they found like better improvement in like the 100, 400, and like 3K time trials. So I'm like, well, what do I got to lose? Like, it's my first time. Um, and like the higher level athletes, my two varsity guys, like they were working hard. Like one of my newcomers was working hard, but like this kid, like he only did like 7 of the 10 that I asked him to do, and for at least 5 or 6 of the 7, the moment one of the girls passed him, all of a sudden, oh, my legs don't work anymore, coach. And I'm like, come on, like, um, like you couldn't be any more transparent about what's going on. But like he was just dogging workouts. He came to practice without his clothes and like got mad when I told him to go home because he doesn't have his clothes. And like ultimately he ended up quitting earlier this week, which
Okay, so the clothes thing is very interesting. So I am doing my student teaching for PE right now and stuff. And even not in the junior highs in my area, they have no problem changing. But in high school, these kids don't want to change into PE clothes. And mind you, my school is so lenient too, to where you can wear your own athletic clothes. Just don't wear jeans. So, like, that's where that fine line is too, and where I say, yes, I agree that they don't have clothes, but then I don't agree at the same time because there are still some things that they can do even if they only have jeans, you know? Because what happens when I notice a lot of kids, so they lose participation points, at least in my school site. So I'm talking my school site specifically, you know, other school sites can do it slightly different. So they're losing their participation points because they're pretty much not dressing, but they're still fully participating in the PE activity. Like right now, we're doing pickleball. So it's not like those kids that are in their everyday clothes are like sitting out and not doing pickleball. Dude, they're still going crazy. They're probably one of my more competitive people than the kids who are actually changed. So that's where that fine line I think would come in too for you, Francis, is like, okay, yes, they don't have the clothes. What can you do that doesn't require clothes? You can do hip mobility, you can do recovery, you know, you can do core. So like there's still some things you can do and not have to just shut them down and put them away. Like I get it, but also things happen too. You know, a lot of kids nowadays go back and forth between homes and they may not
the
have
uh
their athletic clothes at one home compared to another.
the caveat is I'm at a private school, so he's just wearing his uniform, like uniform pants, uniform shirt and stuff. So I'm like, you're just dressed up. Like, just go home. Like,
Okay, but here's the thing too, though, right? Like, yes, they're at a private school, right? So, there's obviously tuition there to like get them in, right? So, like, you would think that they should be well enough off to be able to do that, but we never know what kids are bringing in with them every single day. And by that, I mean
Mhm.
like what sort of like
yeah,
baggage or situation they've got at home. Like Coop said, maybe they're going back and forth between homes. Maybe the family has enough money to help get them in the school, but they're scraping by to get them in the school. So they don't have the stuff, or like their stuff is dirty or it's torn and they don't want to be made fun of. And it's also at a point in their lives where, you know, body shaming is at an all-time high, right? So it's like, do I really? And like you said, that this young man got passed by a couple of girls on like one of the drills. It's like, well, if they're uncomfortable in their own skin and they're getting passed by someone that they already feel uncomfortable around, right? It, it's a difficult situation, but I think the first thing should have been, and I'm sure you did, but like just pulling the kid aside and saying, is everything okay?
Hmm.
Are you okay? Right. And sometimes it's like 5 or 6 conversations before the kid will finally admit,
Uh-huh.
no, I'm not okay. Like something else is wrong here.
I second
And
that. It definitely takes time. And
yeah,
they're going to test you over and over again. And once they realize that, like, you're checking in and checking in and checking in, it will go one or two ways. They will either get overly annoyed with you and probably blow up on you, or they're going to be like, hey, they keep checking in. Maybe they actually care. Maybe this is someone I actually can trust and just tell them what's going on. And I think with Sean and I, it helps big time too, because we also work in education. So we
mhm,
know that side of things. Like when you come on as like a volunteer walk-on coach, you don't really quite see what can happen behind the scenes because you're there, you do your workout, you dip, where like Sean and I, we get emails about stuff that's going on with our kiddos. If our kiddos get in trouble at school, we're going to get emails about it. If our kiddos are going to be out for like 1 to 2 weeks because something personal in the family is going on, like we're going to be emailed about it, and then on top of if they have an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, or if they have a 504 because they have panic attacks at school and stuff like that. And you, as their track coach, happen to be like their go-to person for when they have a panic attack and stuff like that. So there's so many behind the scene things that I wish they would share with even the volunteer walk-on coaches because that is the one blessing that I have working at the school that I coach at is I get the entire picture for the most part. You know, I get the entire picture. I get asked input for IEPs. Parents will email me about things and stuff like that and how their kids are doing. And I like that side of it too. I like that they reach out to more than just track. I understand that I'm a track coach, but I also understand personal side of things and I work in education for a reason as well. Like I still think, especially in a high school setting and even in a college setting, you are still an educator. You still have to go through mandated reporting trainings in case you see anything or hear anything within your kiddos. And there's a reason for that, you're still there to protect them. And that's where it gets so tricky. And like Sean said, you need to have those conversations sometimes because it, the goal is it's definitely beyond the track. And that's just what you got to start implementing as a new head coach too, is you got to learn what's beyond the track and how far do you want the limits to go? Because not every coach will. Not every coach has to. Some coaches have those boundaries and be like, I'm only going to talk about my sport with you and nothing else, But I feel like it would change your team dynamics. It would change you as a coach, you as a future parent, and everything as well. If you open up your eyes to more than just who they are as an athlete on your track.
Kyle, what do
Yeah,
you?
Well, and
I
I
was gonna
was gonna
say,
say,
go
oh,
for
go
it, go
ahead,
for it.
Francis. Okay.
No, 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 go for it.
I was just gonna say, add to just asking them why they want to be there.
Hmm.
Because like if this kid just wanted to be there to be with his friends, and it's like, cool, whatever you put in is what I'm gonna put into you.
That
So if
part.
you want to go out there and you want to dog it, then like, cool, you do you. But like the kids that buy in know that they're gonna go somewhere.
Hmm.
And it also explained that to team, like, hey, you buy in, and I'm gonna do my best to help you have the most successful season. You don't want to buy in and you just want to dog it, then like, cool, like that's on you. This sport is all about what you put in.
Yeah, that part. Numbers
So
don't lie.
it's actually funny that you mentioned that, asking him, why he wants to be here. And I asked him that, he's like, I don't. And I'm like, well, fine. Like he doesn't want to run, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I did not think about that too, because like I don't have a background in education, right? Where it's like this is not the default thought for me.
Yeah.
Like that something could potentially be, up
Hmm.
elsewhere. But like he's been involved with, from talking with my head track coach, he's kind of been a problem kid in the school separately as well. And so it's like, well, okay. But it's like, he basically, like, we had a meet this morning. Like we were on the bus at 7:45, and he sent a text to one of the freshmen that's still on the team. And he was like, look at me, I'm sleeping. I don't have to run it all today. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like he went around Monday bragging to everyone, oh, I finally quit. I finally quit. Finally quit. I'm like, good. I don't want you. So,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, like I kind of got a picture of like kind of how their family life is and stuff. But like, yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that from that perspective.
I just think being
It,
honest with the rest of the team. Like if you want to be and you want to put the work in, then like cool, I'm here to give you every opportunity, every ounce of knowledge that I have. But like if you don't want to, then like cool, you can come out and run. You can come out here and walk the 200s. Like you're still getting a workout in and you're being a good kid. Like you're not getting into trouble.
Hmm.
So like
yeah,
cool, come out here and walk them. You can go be a race walker. Like during the summers, there's a spot for everybody on this sport. So
yeah, like I
I,
understand that. He just didn't want to be anywhere around the sport. So
Frankie, I want
that's
you
an
to know,
option too.
I wasn't laughing at what you were saying before, Frankie, but my wife and son came in, were dancing to Taylor Swift in the background, and it became a whole thing. So that's like, I wasn't trying to like laugh at anything you were saying. Um,
yeah, so Sabrina's the better blonde pop star anyway. So
you do not let my wife hear you say that. She will hop back in on this podcast and it'll turn a 180 real
nah,
quick.
It won't be
that's
about track and field anymore.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
a little bit of nonsense.
Well, she came
Oh
in,
my,
she's like, you guys should be
no,
talking
you
about
did.
Taylor Swift, the life of a shot putter. I'm like, this is a track and field, not just a throws. Come on. Um, I do have to say though, like because I do agree with what Kaya was saying too, like asking why they want to be there and like meeting them where they're at, like effort wise, to an extent, right? I always told athletes this at the high school level. I said, look, if it's a if it's a program where we don't have to have cuts, because I know there are some track programs out there that do cuts and this and that at the high school level.
Hmm.
If it's a program that doesn't have cuts, I am not going to be the one that necessarily cuts you unless you like violate like the team rules that the head coach has set up, right? However, however, if our captain and other athletes on the program bring to me concerns, then we will have to sit down with the head coach and talk about what this looks like moving forward. But
Hmm.
before that happens, right, it's all the conversations of, are you okay? What's going on? What's wrong? How can we help? Right. But if we do all those pieces and they're still, you know, for lack of better phrasing, being a little shit, um, then it becomes okay. I can't keep a cancerous athlete on the team,
Yeah.
right? So like I had a situation once where, and this is at the college level, we recruited a student athlete, had a lot of potential, but the kid was a gamble, right? And I always like to take a chance on kids at the college level, just because you never know, right? And yes, there are most of the kids I try and recruit solid, they're going to be fine. But every now and then there's a kid that I'm like, you know what? This kid I think could be worth it if they can do the right things. Because I think that there are a lot of kids that get overlooked just be for, A, B, or C, that if somebody gave them the chance, maybe
Hmm.
just to get out of their own life or out of their own environment for a semester, could turn things around for them, right? Using track as a vehicle to help for effective change.
Hmm.
Young man came, wasn't strong academically, had a lot of meetings with him, wasn't doing what he needed to do athletically, but at the end of that semester realized, hey, I have a knack in this promotion thing because he was trying to build up his own like personal brand of business. And he's doing really well with that now. But I think part of that was getting away from his own environment to say, all right, this is what I really want to do and double down. Right. And so when we were talking about him staying on the team, we're like, look, I don't think it's going to work, but that's okay. Like, I'm not upset with you. Like, I'm not disappointed with you. Like, you're going to go do your thing. Because here's the fact of the matter, everyone leaves,
Hmm.
whether it's 1 week, one season, one career, everyone hangs it up eventually.
Yeah.
right? But while they're there, if they're putting the work in, let's pour into them, right? We may be the only people that are giving them that positive feedback. We hope not.
Mhm.
I mean, dear Lord, we hope that we're not the only ones, but sometimes we are.
Mhm.
So I don't want to have to kick someone off, but if we have to, then it becomes that, is the rest of the team going to be better because they're not there?
Yeah.
Because I think maybe you guys have seen I think it was like the bad apple study, right?
Hmm.
Where they had like the one person who just acted negatively against all these other groups, right? And they put him in with a group of like 4 or 5 people, and his behaviors would affect the rest of the group negatively to the point where like results were diminished.
Yeah, wanted to quit. Yeah.
Hmm. Except for one group. And this group had a super cooperator in him, right? So like every negative thing this guy threw at him, like he could flip the switch and turn it around, right? Actually frustrated the control subject so much they're just like, I just can't do this, right? Like this doesn't work. And that group was still able to work. But you gotta think, how many times would they do this test and you had like one instance of this, right?
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game. Like I remember telling kids, if I recruit 20 kids freshman year, because some kids will quit, some kids will change major, some kids will get homesick and want to go home,
Hmm.
I would like to think that I'm going to have 5 to 10 of them their senior year. I'd like to think. I mean, I would love to have all 20. Don't get me wrong. But between unforeseen injuries, unforeseen life events, changes in majors, changes in what they really want out of life in general, not everyone stays. And not everyone is the right coach for everyone either,
That
right?
part.
Maybe maybe for you, Frankie, you're a great coach for everyone else on that team but that kid, and that kid needs something different, right?
Hmm.
Which actually leads me into another question that we have here. So I want to throw this out there. Um, there's a buddy of mine, Adrian Bazemore. He's a sprints coach out of the state of Michigan. He is going to be a future guest on our show, and we can like throw him into the panel, and go through some of these things. But I asked him the other day, I was like, like we're doing this podcast, we're doing these things. What would be a question that you would want to know? Like what's hot on your mind in the sport? And he says, I got 2 that came to mind, but if I only get one of them on, please talk about this one. What should a kid do when he or she outgrows their current coach?
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Outgrow. I think I need more context. Like, outgrow how? Like, do they feel like they're not advancing as an athlete anymore because they've been with this coach for so long? Do they feel like they need a change in routine or a different pair of eyes? Because this is where it gets tricky. Because in vault, personally, I always tell the kiddos when we're at meets too, I want you to listen to what other coaches tell you because I feel like in vault specifically, we all have one common goal, and that's for you to get over the bar. Like we share polls with people that aren't even on our team and stuff like that. Coaches are also giving each other advice because our sport is also on the dangerous side because they're jumping anywhere between 8 to 15, 16 feet in the air. So obviously, number one priority for us is safety, and polls can have a huge play in it. If you don't have the right poll, a kid can get rejected and get injured really bad. So I always tell my athletes, if a coach is giving you a tip, listen to it, bring it back to me, and I'll tell you what I think about it because everyone sees something different too. And that's where it gets tricky. And I feel like this is not just in vault. I feel like this can be anywhere within our sport is I can see one thing, but then Francis can see something else in the vaults. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't pick up on that because I'm focusing on something else and Francis is focusing on this. So I think that's where it gets tricky too. So is there like, do we have any more context and which way do we want to go about this?
So in the conversation we had, some of it was athletes who were not progressing the way they thought they should, wanted to get a little bit better in performance wise. Sometimes it was they just weren't the right fit. they went somewhere and it just wasn't working, right? And it's like, well, maybe not outgrow as in like my skill is beyond their capacity, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes yes, but simply we're just growing in two different directions, right? And so if I'm going to continue to reach my fullest potential, I've got to outgrow and go somewhere else.
I could say from kind of both sides as an athlete and as a coach.
I was gonna say you'd be the first one to start it off. Yeah, I think you.
Yeah, because I mean, growing up, I mean, I grew up in a small town and I had just about every school record and had just gone up. I mean, my coach in high school had to go to a clinic just to figure out how the recruitment process worked
Yeah.
because we had never really had anybody sign yet. And so, like, I mean, I started going to club teams and all that, and I think she kind of understood, and ended up more coaching at the high school. And then I would go to club practice on Saturdays, and then I would jump on my own on like Wednesday mornings. And then I would do the rest of the workouts with them. And she kind of told me at one point that, she was more just happy as long as she got me to college, not injured. That was her main priority, was to keep me healthy and just get me on to the next level. So she had
Okay.
accepted the fact that, I had kind of outgrown
So
and it
that's
was
the
time
athlete
for me.
side. What's your coach's perspective on it?
Well, so I had my first year of coaching, I had a kid who was a 6'10" high jumper. Well, my first year of coaching in Colorado. And so obviously, like, I'm a new name on the scene. Nobody knows who I am. They don't know any of my coaching experience, any of that. And so there came a point where he wasn't jumping very well, but he had already qualified for state. And so we were on the heavy side training, and I told him this, and I was like, you just have to trust the process. If you trust me, you might be going 6'4" right now, but it's gonna put us in a spot where we're ready to go 6'8", 6'10" by the time we hit state. He didn't want to trust that. He thought he had outgrown me. And so he started reaching out to other coaches, and other coaches were reaching out to him too because they saw him jumping like 6'4", and kept giving him. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, I kind of either need you guys to back off and let me do my schedule with him, or it kind of came to the point where I just had to kind of let him go. I'm like, you can't do both, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So recognizing this, I'm going to step back. Because the last thing I want you to do is get injured. He's already signed to a college and everything, already had a college coach. And so I kind of came back into the same, okay, as long as you don't get hurt and I can keep you safe, like we can try to do some of this other stuff because I can tell you right now, by the time you get to college, they're going to switch everything again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think it's either as a coach, you got to either step up and tell them and have that conversation like, hey, no, I need you here now. Or you got to kind of back off and be like, hey, okay, go ahead. This is the direction it's being pulled. Then I want you to follow that direction because maybe that's what's best for you.
No,
I
that's legit.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like with vault, I have had vaulters in the past go to other coaches, not because they outgrew me, because I didn't have the right inventory for them. I didn't have the right poles for them, and I couldn't afford poles or anything like that. So they had went into different like club coaches and stuff like that and mainly trained with them because they had the proper poles for them that they needed to continue to progress as a vaulter. So I never took it personal. I always made sure I cut back on their training on their days that I knew they were going to that coach. They wouldn't jump with me, they wouldn't vault with me, none of that. I'd be like, hey, you hear it till the bell rings, peace out, go have fun at club practice. And my kiddos were actually really good about telling me what they did, and they would bring back their drills to me and show me them because they knew that I pretty much learned coaching from books and videos. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I learned some stuff from my high school coach, but I'm basically self-taught.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get the full college experience or anything like that. I did 1 year at JCO and I was still coaching myself practically at that time. So I learned as I go. And the biggest thing for me is I will never take it personal because I know until I have an inventory of a crazy amount of polls, I'm never going to be the right coach for everybody. And sometimes my personality doesn't work out with others. Like, I know you guys haven't necessarily seen me quite at meets or anything. Well, Francis got a taste of it at Outdoor Champs. But
Yeah.
like I get really excited and I get super happy and I sometimes screech at the top of my lungs when you've done something fantastic, you know? And that's not everyone's taste of medicine either. They feel like they're being called out in a way and then all attention is brought to them. So I know some athletes out there that don't like that either. So like personality can clash too, and that can be another reason of outgrowing as well.
That's fair. Frankie, what do you think?
Yeah, you brought up a good point because like I've just been kind of realizing too, like I don't think I've had like an athlete like outgrow me in the sense that like I've never had an athlete like I guess I'm viewing it a different way, but like I've never had an athlete like from freshman year all the way to senior year. Like when I first started coaching, like my first freshman class was interrupted because that was COVID year. So
Hmm.
I never really got to fully finish that class out. And then even now, like this is actually my first year that I have seniors who I coached when they were freshmen. And I don't think we've outgrown each other quite yet. But you Megan brought up a good point where like there's personality clash, and like I kind of going back to the question at hand, it's like, well, what do you do when an athlete has outgrown you? I'm like, well, like I have to help them transition to a new coach, um, or to transition to something that's like um, more suited to like their skill set. Like two of my recent high jumpers, they are like the type of kids who like my head coach would have never given them a chance in like the high jump back in the day because he's more used to having guys like come from football and high jumping, guys from basketball coming from high jumping. My kid that jumped 6'4" was a band kid, like, but we
Okay.
worked together very well. And like I think even at his very last meet, I'm like, I think that was at the level where like, yeah, it's time for you to move on to like another coach that can get you even further.
Mhm.
But like we went all the way from 5 foot up to 6'4". My
And
head coach would not have even given it a shot.
yeah, and here's like another thing too. So like, the whole reason I created my club was because in our area right now, three of the seven high schools actually have vault coaches. So that's also another reason I created my club is some of these kids don't have a vault coach, but their head coach wants those points. So they just kind of, hey, you're going to learn how to vault. And they just literally learn from their teammates. Like I'm training this one athlete right now. They made him a lefty because the team captain of vault was a lefty, and that's all they knew.
Mm.
I changed this kiddo, and he's right-handed. So I changed this kiddo. We've been working for the past month on the transition from left to right. And now we're about week two of, okay, I'm starting to gear things up with him now that he's gone like vaulting from the right to down. And things are clicking for him now that I've never clicked for him before. And he's like, Coach, that felt weird, but in a good way. And I keep telling him he's gonna go back to his league and then they're gonna be like, what the crap did you do this summer? And I'm gonna be like, it was a simple change. So I think that's where it gets tricky too, is like Francis said, they just may not have the resources available in their area. So they have to out resource and stuff like that because they want to be a better athlete and they just don't have the resources in their area. So they feel the need to go out or want the need to go out. Like I train kids from four different schools right now. And then I have some of the college kids come back and jump with me too that used to live in my area every summer as well. And I feel like it's so beneficial for them uh, as well because it's like they're doing it for themselves. If you really think about it, they are outreaching and outsourcing to make themselves better. Sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. I do agree that like injury can definitely come into play about it all, and that's where it gets tricky. But some kids feel like they need to go do that change or have that second opinion. And once they get that second opinion, they're like, Actually, I'm fine where I'm at. I'm comfortable where I'm at. I don't feel like I need to do this anymore. They just need that taste of medicine to see it, is it truly like what's happening in my current situation, or do I really need it? Because like you can look at it from honestly any event group. I think distance and sprints, not so much, but any of the specialty like throws. You don't got a throws coach, you're gonna go outsource too. You don't have a hurdle coach, you're gonna want to go outsource as well. So that's where it gets tricky, is because not a lot of schools have every event coach specifically. A lot of them are multiple coaches of everything, and then you got to work that into your training plan. Like, yes, I'm head coach. I'm not in charge of the sprint workouts. I do more the administration side of things. My co-head coach is the one in charge of the sprint workouts. She does the training plan. I do the behind scene administration. So, yes, I'm a head coach that's not a sprint coach. I'm a head coach that I consider myself a field event coach. I know my field events. I know good marks in field event. I know my field event athletes. It's called track and field for a reason. She can be the track, I'll be the field, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And that's where our dynamics work out so much too. And we bounce off ideas off each other all the time because they're a younger coach. And yes, I'm young, but I've been in the head coach scene longer than she has. I've been a coach at this specific school that I'm at much longer than she has. Yes, I'm older in age too, but like in reality, our training is probably at the same levels. She's just learning how to handle some situations from my sense because I have been around longer. And again, that's where my education background comes into play too, because I also know the stuff that's behind the scenes. Like a lot of people still tend to forget to include her in the emails because she doesn't work on the campus either. So like there's that disconnect too. And I always like respond and like CC her as well and everything because I think it's also important for her to know as well.
I was glad that you brought up the throws too, because like I've seen so many programs that don't have a throws coach, and the kids are like, I don't know what to do, and these are kids that they're super talented, um, and if they had just an ounce of coaching, right, they'd be there. So I feel like I've seen this conversation from a couple different angles. When I was in high school, we didn't have a throws coach. I was learning off of DVDs and VHS tapes to really date myself there, like Al Feuerbach, basic 70-foot chop putting and Mac Wilkins discus, like were like probably burnt through a couple times in my VCR, right? Um, so for me, like my head coach was able to help me with the mental side of it and allow me to like be able to lock in there, but I had to outgrow him technically,
Mhm.
go find better resources on that end. Um, as a high school coach, when I was at a few different schools in Michigan, and we had varying levels. We had D4, D3, and D1 schools that I had worked through, right? There were a lot of programs that didn't have coaches, so we would say, hey, look, if your kids want extra help, that's fine. Like, we're more than willing to help, but here's the deal. Whatever you guys say as your team's head coach, whatever you want them to work on is what we're going to have them work on. So it wasn't well, this is what I see, I'm just going to do this. It was still something from their head coach that kind of directed it. And we even got to the point where we had 3 or 4 different schools in a conference that had really talented kids. And they're just like, yeah, like we need some help. Like we're just missing a couple things here. We want to have our kids come work with you, that had throws coaches. And I said, sure, like come on over, like bring your kids over, like we'll work together and we'll explain why we're doing these things and we'll show you why we're doing these. So like we could help the coaches too. Right. And again, whatever that coach wanted to work on, we would kind of gear things towards that. And our kids had a lot of success. And we had a couple that were, I think, like there were probably, I don't know, in this one grouping of like 2 or 3 years, we had about 5 or 6 kids that would go like D1. Right. And so, I mean, it was really talented group. One is still going. He's down at Texas A&M right now. He's just a phenomenal athlete, great kid too. Um, but a lot of those things were because we did well here, and like that, the kid at A&M, he was with me for his freshman, sophomore year, and then his family moved to Ohio, right? Where Ohio has like weight throw as part of their indoor high school stuff.
Okay.
And we have it as more of a club thing in the winter.
Mm,
But Ohio also had like a hammer championship. So for me, I loved the fact that he kind of got to outgrow me and go somewhere where he could like flourish more and do those things.
yeah.
And I think that's part of it that's hard for some coaches too, is like we tell our kids your next coach should be your best coach,
Hmm.
right? Like you can always come back and we'll give you thoughts, but like when I've had former athletes come back and say, hey, like what do you think about this? I don't know. What does your current coach think? Right? Like, what do they say? Hmm. Did you ask them? Did you get clarification from them? Have those conversations before you come back to me,
Yeah.
right? Because if you have faith in them, right, and it's good. And I've had kids who went to a place where, the coach changed 3 other 4 years,
Mm,
right? And they stuck there and they're, you know, had a decent career, but they could have done more,
yeah.
right? And I've had kids who went somewhere and they were great in one event, but the coach was really good at another one, and so they kind of became better at that, but in my mind, never hit their full potential in their primary one,
Hmm.
right? And so we can feel those things, but I have a hard time telling the kids, hey, like that's great, except if you would have done A, B, and C, right?
Hmm.
It just has to be, you know what? I'm proud of you. Keep doing good stuff, right?
And I think I want to add to it. I think outsourcing also occurs based off facilities. So, like me,
Yeah.
I am one of the few schools in my area that can keep their pole pit out during football season, during soccer season. A lot of schools have to put them away and can't pull them out till both those seasons are over. My high school, it's far enough to where I can still jump. Now, mind you, obviously, I don't do it on soccer or on game days and stuff like that because that's against CIF regulations and stuff like that. But during their practices, I can still jump. Mind you, would we get hit with football or a soccer ball from time to time? Yeah. I'm not going to get mad at that because it's their season. I just hope that they're respectful and apologize to us. But I think that has everything in play too, is because if you don't have the facilities until right before season, yeah, you're going to outsource. You can't vault just anywhere, throws you can, yes, you can throw it anywhere, but you can't at the same time. It depends because you're not going to have obviously a ring. But I've had throwers in the past like go to a park, an open park, and just throw. I won't lie, Sean. I know it's something you probably don't want to hear, but when they want to get work done, they're gonna make it work, you know?
I mean, I've had a lot of kids use like racquetball courts and empty gyms, right? Like we actually made our own indoor training weights because we couldn't throw the real weights on our gym floors because it would like scuff the
Oh,
floors or
yeah,
damage the
yeah.
floors. So we took slam ball medicine balls, basketball nets, duct tape, and zip ties, and made a soft shell regulation like pounded weight to
Nice.
throw and train with. And we trained 3 guys that ended up going over 65 in the weight.
Damn. Okay.
Like you can find ways to do it.
Yeah. So I think that definitely has play as well, is like it depends on your facilities. Like um you guys have to worry about this more than I do. Weather affects you guys more too. Because the minute it snows for all you guys got to go indoor. I just got to worry about rain. You could still do quite a few things in
You,
rain. I don't
you
got to
you
worry
have
about snow,
you have wildfires out there too, though. So
Okay,
don't
yes, I do
don't.
get wildfires out there. I agree. But
Earthquakes.
uh, okay, now we're just going to the extreme, okay? Y'all have an entire season of like November to February where you can't even leave your driveways unless you're gonna shovel the snow. I don't gotta worry about that kind of stuff, you know? So there's a big difference there. You gotta put a lot more work in order to make yours happen. I don't.
I don't think Frankie and I shovel as much snow as Kaya probably does out in the
I would
Colorado
say
area.
we always get a May blizzard. There was one state meet that got They were out there for a week because of snow.
That's insane.
They had to
Wasn't
get
there
2 extra nights.
wasn't it like the Big Sky conference meet outdoors a few years back was like it was going on while it was snowing?
Well, because we had my first year of coaching out here, we had to get less nights at the hotel because they had overspent the year before at state because they got snowed in for a blizzard.
Oh,
So
Wow.
we like went down the first night and then came back and then went and stayed another night and then came back.
well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it was rough, but that was what we had to do for budget.
Yeah, but I mean, you think that like I don't know. I think that's where ah that's a topic for another day, the administration side of things. There's yeah, that I can go days to talk about because there's things that bug me. I'll put them in the wheel. I'll send those later and I'll put them in the wheel for us to talk another time because I can go on and on.
But yeah, going back to the outgrow thing though, I think 9 times out of 10 it's better just to let the kid grow. Let the kid outgrow. Because I know myself personally, if my high school coach would have told me, like, no, you can't go to this club team, you can't go work with these other coaches, you can't be talking to them during season, I want you to just do my stuff, I probably would have shut down high school season. I probably maybe even would have said I'm done.
Yeah. The
Because
one
for
rule,
me, I was already qualified for US juniors and everything. So the state meet for me was just kind of for fun. We were
yeah.
1A Minnesota.
So the only rule we have at me and my co-head coaches is they still have to do our workouts, and anything they do on their own time is their own time. But they got to do our workouts too. So like obviously like if they're willing to communicate, like their private coach and us is like willing to communicate and stuff, then we'll take that into consideration. But like you're on my team, you wear my name across the chest, like you at least got to participate in a majority of our practices.
Yeah, I think there's also a side too, if you're the coach that they're outgrowing too, is to have that conversation with their coach. You
Hmm.
know, you got to communicate with them, and that'll help prevent. I mean, because 100% it's for the athlete.
Yeah,
So if you're
exactly.
not communicating with their coach, you're just risking
Uh-huh.
injuries and
Uh-huh.
overwork.
We had a kid last year that outgrew not just the coach but our sport.
Oh.
So young lady was a transfer into our school, wanted to do track, and for us we have like an unofficial indoor season and then we have our outdoor season. But like wanted to do track, wrestling, and women's rugby, and so would really only want to show up for meet days. And I'm like I'm sorry, but
Question.
like this isn't gonna work. You're gonna have to you can go do the other two sports and do what you want to do. Like I'm not gonna run you to injury.
I have a
And
question for you. Continue though.
no. I
Yeah.
was just like we're not gonna keep you on and have you do three sports and never practice and just compete. Like and this kid was like she was a 120 discus thrower and like a 35 shot putter. She would have scored us decently. I mean, she would have been probably a top 20 in the state at some point for women's disc. But to me, the risk is too great, especially with her being like a junior or senior. I was like, you're clearly not interested in track as much as you are these other two things that you want to like skip our practices for. Go enjoy those things, right? Go enjoy your high school time. We're good.
Coach, I have a question.
Yeah.
Little old California me. When
No,
are
if
those
California gets too
seasons?
many votes, no.
No. When are those seasons? Because like I think that kind of has a play too. Because like you look at volleyball, you look at basketball, their club seasons are not allowed to interfere with high school season. They cannot overlap in any way, shape, or form. We don't have that for track.
Yeah, yeah.
So when is rugby and
Indiana.
yeah, yeah.
So
All right.
they actually have a like kind of a split. So they do some games in the fall and some games in the spring.
Oh,
Oh, like
And
peacemaker.
then they have wrestling in the winter, right?
okay.
But then there's club wrestling after that'll go through into like the summer stuff. So like there really isn't a good time to like find that. Like because I've had athletes who've done like the fall and winter sports and stuff. But like our best discus girl last year, she didn't come out till almost a couple weeks into our season, like almost like before spring break, because the basketball team went on such a run, they went towards like the state finals.
Nice.
But here's the thing in Indiana, because they can't reserve the same place for state finals, like on the same weekend for men and women, they shifted the start and end dates of each of those seasons. So like the women got done like right before spring break. If men had still been in it, they would have potentially been going after spring break, like almost into the midway point of our season.
When is basketball for you guys?
Well, basketball for the ladies, I think, is like October, November,
And they go all the way through April?
and
Or
then the
is
men would
your
have
spring
been
break like end
like
of March?
I think it was April.
God dang, that's a long
And
season.
then the men's, well, because remember, that's the beginning of the season, right? So they're going to do some practice stuff, some conditioning stuff before they ever do games, right? And you still have Thanksgiving break. We have fall break, right? And so, like, between Thanksgiving break and Christmas, there's only a couple of weeks there. So it's not a whole lot. And then you're jumping back in after winter break,
Wait, are you talking high school or college?
high school.
Huh, interesting. So you guys aren't allowed to have like games over the break as long as it's not too close to the holiday?
They probably do. Not my sport, not my concern.
Not my monkey's not my circus. That's what I say a lot.
Pretty,
I
pretty
have,
much.
that is my favorite quote being a head coach nowadays.
But because those sports seasons were shifted on the start dates, right? Like,
Uh,
I mean, men's football lasted so long they went to the state finals. So they're like end of November, right? And then they want to give kids time to like recover from that before they go into basketball because basketball is huge down here, right? So they might not even start until December, which means they're finishing a couple weeks after our women's group finishes. So now you're like decently into the spring season. So we're talking maybe a month or less before regionals and sectionals that you're
damn,
gonna have to like get on your A game and get ready.
that's insane to me.
Yeah.
For us, it's like mid-March if they make it that far. And mid-March, like we're just getting into season. So, because we like before you get into postseason, our like league, or I guess you guys would call it regionals. I'm still trying to figure out if it's the same or if it's
Well,
different.
league and conference tend to be the same.
Okay, league and conference. There you go. So my league is like end of April, and then my entire postseason is all of May, and then my state is always around Memorial Weekend.
Yeah. I'd say like we're like first weekend in June.
Yeah, see, first weekend of June, school is out
Yeah.
in my area.
We're the third week of May.
For state?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which we don't start till like the third week of February, so we have a short season
Yeah, we start
if
like
we get outside.
I was gonna
first,
say
yeah.
with the weather, like how do you make that work?
Yeah.
We do a lot like in the cafeteria and everything, and then you just get outside and you just have the kids bundle up. I mean, little man, he's got a wonderful wagon, and I bought an insulated wrap and everything that goes around it, so he stays warm in there, and we just bundle up and go.
I need to find the adult size of that wonderful wagon.
I mean, I can fit in it. It's huge. They have a four-seater.
A four-seater, yo!
The
A
thing was
four
not
seater would be
cheap.
like one seat for me. Like that
Dude, I got
works.
like 1,500 into that wagon.
Dang.
But it's like a rolling pack and play, and he just sat in it and track
Oh.
meets, couldn't get out or anything, and the girls would just sit there and play with him at the meets.
Hey,
It was wonderful.
you gotta do what you gotta do as a mom and a track coach, man. When my
Oh, he
little
would take
brother comes,
naps in there.
yeah, when my little brother comes to the meet, I don't even see him. He's passed around. Like there was one meet last year, my little brother was at, my mom was working the snack bar. I'm, at the pole pit coaching, running the pit and everything. And it starts to rain, thunder, and lightning. So we had to automatically stop the meet, move everyone into the gym, do the protocol and everything and stuff. And my mom calls me. She's like, "Do you know where your brother is?" And I was like, "I'm sure one of the kids already brought him inside the gym." So I'm calling a couple kiddos. "Have anyone seen my brother?" And someone's like, "Oh yeah, so and so grabbed him. He's inside the gym running around right now. I see him." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Like my kiddos go off and with him. They love him. So I get it.
I was always tempted to like strap a walkie-talkie to like whatever he was wearing. And so that way, like whoever's got him, I can be like, all right, where is he at right now? And then they could just
That's
answer
actually
real quick,
genius.
right? Like we
That's
would use
actually
walkie-talkies
genius.
at the state finals. and be like, all right, how's it going over here? How's it going over there? Like,
But I would also be afraid at the same time, knowing my little brother, he would probably click the button the entire time and I wouldn't be able to talk and you'll just hear every or whatever he's doing, like you'll never be able to talk back to them because they don't even know they're pressing the button to talk.
what a vaulter.
Hey, don't judge us.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and ask this, guys. Do you think we got one time for one more question, or do we want to go ahead and call it a night right here?
I can
I
keep
think I'm
going.
down for one more.
That's the answer. I love it.
I
All right.
want to do one more.
Time to bring up the spinning wheel of destiny.
I'm also West Coast, so like it's still early for me.
Oh, that's right. You are.
Yeah, I took a nap, so I'm wide awake.
It's only 8:30 here. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All
The
right.
little
Let
man
me
just
go.
woke up from a nap, so we're gonna be up for a while.
Oh, yeah, you are.
There you go. All right. Let me go ahead and share the window again.
Ooh.
And time for the awesome spinning wheel. Let's see what we get this time.
I feel like we need a music jingle. There is music.
Oh
Yeah. How can teammates be more accountable to each other in meeting their goals?
no. Ooh. How can teammates be more accountable to
Is
each other?
that one of ours, or is one of those?
No, so that one is actually another one by a hopeful sponsor, if they're out there. Um, it is a card game called the And Conversation card game.
That's
They do things called the Skin Deep. This is actually from their team building set. I was lucky
Mm,
enough recently to get it for my birthday. I thought, this would be a great one to add in there.
okay. I I think I could start off because we literally just did this the other day with my team. So my team was fooling around so much at practice the other day that we didn't end up getting into our weight room. And with our facilities, it is so hard to get into the weight room. Like literally the minute season is over, you have to be thinking about your weight training days for all of next year.
Yep.
So the minute season is done for us, we set up our weight training days. So they were fooling around at practice so much that we didn't get into the weight room. And I wasn't there at practice that day because I was in class. I had school that night, so I left early. So I was mad. So the next day, I explained it to them. I explained why I was mad about it because it's so hard for us to get into it to begin with. And not only were we fooling around and we couldn't make it into it, you also took that opportunity away from another program that probably needed it on campus. So it was one of those two things. So I made them run a mile. And come Tuesday, they are now in groups. So usually like the way we do is like the entire because it's a fall track class. It's all I have 34 in the class right now. So all of them are in like one big circle when it comes to like their dynamics and stuff because we go back and forth between um like hip mobility, groundwork and stuff, and then on the track for like sprint dynamics. So we go like a lot of back and forth. And so usually in fall, because there's not as many kiddos, I let them all be in one group. But because there's a lot of foolery right now, I'm taking it away. So we have team captains. So now what's going to happen is team captain is going to have a group of 7 to 8 kids and they're going to lead them through everything. And then when they get onto the track for their sprints, or for their dynamic sprint dynamic stuff, they're going to have to be in that same line on the track. So that is their group of 7 or 8 with their team captain to help get rid of that foolery. So that's like one way that we keep like our team accountable is okay, you don't want to like act together as a team and just get through your workout. I will split you up and I make sure that those kids that that are causing the foolery and stuff aren't in same training groups when it comes to it because we mainly see it in my program during warm-ups and stuff. That's the first time I've at least heard this season that it was happening during workouts. And the kids did own up to it because I asked them. I was like, okay, so anyone want to tell me what happened at practice yesterday? And, us coaching staff talked about it and we kind of figured out a solution on how on our end we can also be better as coaches to kind of cut out the foolery. But I also explained to the kids, you guys can earn your team dynamic group back. You know, I think it's important to show them that you're serious. You're going to hold them accountable, but it is a possibility to get back to where you belong. Because in spring, we felt like for us, it took forever to get through dynamics when we had them as a whole group. So that's why we created these team group dynamics with their captains, where in fall, I've never felt the need to. So I feel weird bringing it out this early, but I feel like it's necessary at the same time because in result, with foolery, injuries can come into play because now not everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing because they're fooling around and now they're skipping out on this or they're accidentally missing that because they're too busy talking and stuff like that, you know? So that's kind of how we do it in my program is it is a two-way street between coaches and athletes. I told the athletes this is what's going to happen. They can try to earn it back. And us coaching staff talked about it too to try to figure out how can we cut it a little bit more because we found out that mainly the foolery was happening because some athletes were finishing up like that specific reps of something faster than others were. And then so those athletes that were done early were coming to the athletes that were still finishing up and then interrupting them. So what we like came up to is like, okay, because our kids are very good of coming up to us and asking, okay, what's next? But because I wasn't there, like the dynamics was a little bit harder because I usually help out when it comes to those group days. It wasn't like a vault day or anything, so we didn't have to worry about that. So I felt like my head coach and my assistant coach were trying to go back and forth between the different groups, and it just didn't work out that day for whatever reason. And so that's why the clash happened. So, I explained to them, okay, maybe you need to tell the kids when you finish your reps, stay here. I will come to you to tell you what's next instead of them coming to us to kind of help keep them separate and keep that foolery apart. Because that's one thing is it's a blessing and a curse because our kiddos are so good at coming to us and asking what's next. Like they want to keep going and they want to finish up and everything. So it's not like it was a bad deed. It's just ended up taking way too long to where by the time they finished the workout, it was ready at the time we usually tell parents, hey, practice is done. So weight room still occurred, but it became optional because of how late it was.
I was gonna say a good person to talk to that would be fun to bring on is like the head coach at the school I used to coach at because they're like one of the top cross country programs in Colorado. And I have always said their culture on the team. It's not even just keeping each other accountable, it's the culture of the team. And it gets passed down year to year, and it's just crazy. And it's why they're one of the top cross country teams in the state
I do.
and one of the hardest states to be in. Yeah. So yeah, for me, I that's something I always struggle with is them accountability and the culture and all that because I've always had such small groups, but it'd be great to talk about culture with a coach sometime.
Mhm.
Got to tell him to come on, be a guest.
I know, I'm sure he would. He's got a lot of knowledge. He was at the thing with us too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
at
yeah.
emerging.
Frankie, what about you, sir?
This one's a hard one for me because like m most of like the disciplining like with my track kids like it happens with my head coach and he mostly treats them like he does with his football kids because most of the time like it is kids that came from football that are part of the team. So it's like it comes different. Like if I were to tell them like, hey, stop screwing around, stop, you know, being assholes about practice, like just, focus up, like let's get this work done. It comes differently when he gets in their face all football-y, like, a little bit more little bit more direct, a little bit more brusque. The wording is a little bit more, a little bit more
Rough
Intense.
around the edges.
explicit. Um, but like it's a little bit different. But like kind of like what Kaya was saying, when I go to like my specific event group, not so much like screwing around. Like my high jumpers are locked
Mhm.
in, my pole vaulters are locked in. Like if I'm doing like a long like mid distance workout, like there's not enough energy for them to be fooling around because they're on the ground, you know. Um, but I did have one interaction with some of my high jumpers last year where it's like these are kids like we're out of meat, and it's like a championship meet. Like we have a chance of winning, we have a chance of like being like doing particularly well, and like they're just messing around. They're watching other races. They're watching um watching teammates do stuff. And keep in mind, one of my high jumpers, he was a 6 foot high jumper at this point, and the other one was like a 5'6", 5'8" guy, and they were both screwing up at 5 foot,
Ooh.
and like they were just not locked in at all. So like they were screwing around, just having fun, hanging out, and like I had to pull them. Like I basically got in their faces at the meet. I'm like, when one of you jerks gets up over 5'8" again, come find me because I'm not coaching you until you get back up there again. Like at this meet, I'm not coaching you until you get back there. And they were able to make it back up through 5 foot, 5'2", 5'4" ish. And then my 6 footer, he comes over, he's like, Coach, I'm over 5'8" now. And I'm like, okay, I'm a man of my word. I'm coming over.
Okay.
But like I talked with them at practice after today and I let them know too. I'm like, this is why I ripped you guys, because like you guys are better than this. Like high jump is one of my favorite events to coach, and it's one of my favorite events like in track, period. You guys are my high jumpers. I hold you to that much higher of a standard
Mhm.
than like, the ding
I,
dongs that are, sitting around doing nothing. Like you guys, like I train you guys to be excellent at this.
uh-huh.
If you guys are screwing around at 5 foot and not making it, then there's something, you're just not locked in. And from that moment, like they kind of understood it too, where it's like, okay, yeah, like, this is important. This is important to me. This is important to coach. Like, let me take it more seriously at practice and meets and stuff. And like, we haven't had a problem since. Um, but like for those first few meets, I'm like, hey, I know this is fun time and I know this is, time to hang out, but it's also work time. Like, let's go get work done.
So
Um,
I do second you, Francis, on the whole like, with your high jumpers, you hold them more accountable and stuff. It's the same way with my vaulters. I know some kids on my team probably see it as favoritism because they are my vaulters and I'm the vault coach. But in reality, I can literally give my vaulters like a gymnastics workout to do on the high bar that I don't need to fully watch. And I know they're going to get the work done. Like there's very few things in vault that you can have them do on their own that's not going to hurt themselves, but they can still get the work in. And that's where the big difference is like if they know your routine, they know how these drills are supposed to do, and you don't really need to watch them as a coach. You just need to get through the movements. That's where it gets hard too, because I have had to rip a new one on my vaulters as well. It's very rare that I have to, but I will if I need to. And I'll straight up tell them why I'm ripping them a new one as well. But Francis, let me ask you this. Do you also feel like, was this before or after like you and I kind of talked about recording their jumps and picking later starting heights and stuff?
Definitely after.
Okay.
Because I do so, and we talked about this too, part of that conversation. So with the vertical jumps, like right, you want to pick a height that you can manage. This is more for like the audience, right? Like you want to pick a height that you can manage your energy and like you're not wasting. Like if I've got a 6 foot high jumper, I might start them at like 5'6", maybe 5'8". I
Yeah.
wouldn't waste my time at 5 foot, 5'2", 5'4". Um, I want to pick a height that can challenge them, but also like gives me an opportunity to try to shoot for higher bars. Like if I'm spending all my energy at lower bars, I'm wasting my energy there. With this specific scenario, and I know I've told you about this, and I know it still does not make any sense. That was that relay meet, that team relay
Oh,
meet
yes.
where
Okay.
if
Yeah.
if an athlete It's
Their
stupid in
combined
the area
heights
that
will
I'm
give
at.
you the score.
You have an athlete with combined heights, you have a two-man relay. But the way that this particular meet is run, if an athlete no height, like that's it. Like
Right.
it doesn't matter if I had a 7 foot jumper and a guy that can't clear 5 foot. If the guy that could not clear 5 foot doesn't even jump, my 7 footer doesn't even get to jump either.
Okay.
So this was one where I'm like, hey, let's go jump at 5 foot because you have been inconsistent a little bit. Let's get the five. Let's get the five. Let's lock away the points.
Yeah.
Because like the other rival teams that we were jumping against, I'm like, they were having the same difficulty too. Like their athletes were more consistent, but like their athletes had PRs of like 5.2, 5.4. I'm like, all right, in a normal world, that event is locked for me. But they're screwing around, and we ended up tying with them. We split the points, but I'm like, well, if we had been a little bit more serious, maybe we wouldn't have had this issue. But yeah, we talked about like the opening heights and starting the opening heights and stuff. But this was the one where it's like, well, if someone were to know height at like a 5.4, then that kills my relay entirely. I get 0 points. So that's one of those like strategic ones where I'm like, okay, I don't need them to jump this low, but like the fact that they were missing at 5 foot, and it was like dumb stuff, right? Like jumping into the bar and like you know falling onto the bar. I'm like, we practice better than this. Why are you guys not locked in? And they're joking around, listening to music, like watching other people jump. The other one too. I had to kick out a couple of my athletes that were coming down to hang out because they were being distracting as well. So like some of my sprinters, like when they were done, they were coming to hang out and just be down on the floor. Um, and I had to tell them like, go get out of here. You guys are distracting the high jumpers. And they were able to listen. They're respectful enough to understand like, hey, get out. I'm working. Get out. But yeah, there were some kids that were coming down and disrupting the flow. For some of my kids. The
Okay.
girls were fine. The girls made it over five easily. But like the two boys, and I started to rip them. I'm like, hey, how come B and G over here they go 5 foot their first attempt? You guys can jump higher than them. How come they beat you right now?
Yeah.
And
No,
eventually they kind of locked in a little bit better.
yeah,
And
I was mainly just asking because I was wondering if because the height was so low that they didn't feel like they were being challenged enough, and that's also could play into the foolery.
no, but they also know the deal with this specific meet. That I'm like,
Okay.
I want a 5 foot, I want a 5 foot, and then we can skip to there. But they
Gotcha.
weren't even giving me the 5 foot to begin with. I think they both cleared it on their third attempt, which I'm like, come on. Like the
Wasted
only
everything there
thing I
too.
need you to do is jump 5 foot.
Yeah.
Um, and they were just,
What about you, Sean?
I think probably the best example I can give of holding a group accountable to each other, right? I was working at this high school program, and as a new coach to the program, right? Didn't know the kids' names, needed something to kind of help me out with that. But I also wanted to show them that while throwing is an individual sport, what you do affects everyone else in the group and the team, right? So went out to Home Depot and got these giant post-it notes. I mean, these things are like poster
Yeah,
size,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I've seen those. Yeah.
I made everyone write their goals for their events on the post-its and stuck them on the wall that we had to see every single day.
Dude, I love that.
Partially because I wanted them to always see their goals whenever they were at practice when we were inside, right? Because outside, I mean, we had to make do. But when we'd start the seasons indoors, they had to see the goals every single day. But we'd also start asking them, hey, what's so and so's goal? What are they trying to go for? Right. And it became, what was it? I think of like Remember the Titans, right? Where he's like, hey, you need to get to know your teammates and know a couple facts about them, right?
Uh-huh.
Like this was kind of like that, except it was what are their goals? What are they striving for? What are they trying to do? And eventually it got to the point where we're like, all right, cool. Like, hey, do you know so and so's goal? Nope. All right, time for push-ups. Let's go. Everyone's doing push-ups, right? Everyone's doing sit-ups. Everyone's doing something to get better. Okay. And so we would do these things to build that. And eventually kids started to know, hey, this is their goal, this is their goal. So when people start to slack off at practice or slack off at meet, be like, hey, so what are you doing right now as a teammate to help them achieve their goal? Because right now it looks like you're just shooting the shit. Like you're not over here cheering it up for them. You're not over there offering to shag the implement for them. You're not over there, being present for your teammate, right? Because we want all of them to be present for you. And this group that we had, they would have a separate varsity and JV section at every dual meet we had because there
Okay.
were so many kids on the team. Like that group, we would eventually go on to have 40 high school throwers, and we could only have four be varsity. And so your top four you had to denote before
Per
the meet
school though,
started,
right? Top four per
huh?
school.
Four per school,
Okay. Okay.
but you had to list them before the meet started. So if a JV kid out through all the varsity kids, didn't matter. You wouldn't get those
Oh
points.
shit.
It was just your top four, right?
Damn.
So this is where for us, the next piece of that being accountable was I need everybody in that next group of four to be just as good, if not better than the top group of four, right? So that if at any point a senior has an event going on, there's somebody sick, somebody is suspended, somebody got an accident, right? I could plug anybody in and we're not going to lose ground because it wasn't just about them, it was about the points that we got for the team total, right?
Mhm.
And so we always frame things in we're going to start the meet off by trying to take as many points as we can to give our team the best chance to start out strong against this other team and make them have to play catch up the rest of the meet.
Mhm.
We do our job on the throwing side, then we have to go cheer on everyone else because that's our next job, right? So we'd make throwers go, hey, what are you doing in the stand? Awesome, cool. Get your butt down. You're going to go cheer on vault, or you're going to go cheer on hurdles. You're going to go, cheer on the kids in the 2 mile because everyone knows how lonely that 2 mile can be doing 8 laps around a track, right? It's like go out there and be present for them.
Yeah.
So we would do those sort of things. And that group really took that to heart. And over time, like it got a lot easier with that, but we'd always have some new kids who didn't want to come in. And so after a while, it was, hi. So I see that we're not doing what we're asked to. We're not really supporting anyone else here. Why don't you go home and we'll try it again tomorrow? Like, not mad, not disappointed, but this isn't the standard that we've set here. So you can go home and come back tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And some kids would go home, wouldn't come back. That's okay. That's their choice. Some kids would be like, oh, this is what I'm in for. Okay, sure. All right, I got it now. And so eventually it would lead to that accountability piece like we spoke of earlier, where I wouldn't kick kids off, but these captains and these team leaders would come and say, hey, I think so and so isn't the best fit for us because they're screwing around, they're doing this, they're doing that. And it's like, cool. Have you as an athlete shared with your teammate that they're not doing the things that are helping you or your other teammates?
That part.
Which is hard because nobody wants to be the bad guy to their classmates, right?
No, 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 no.
However, you all know this as well as I do. We as coaches are sometimes just looked at as talking heads, but when your peers hold you accountable, that
It
carries
hits
so
you.
much more weight.
That's exactly what I try to tell my kiddos. I'm like, look, me and my coaches can talk as much as we talk.
Yep.
We can say as much as we say. It's going to go in one ear, out the other. The minute your peers say something, it hits you at a different freaking level.
Well, and that's where, like, for safety, right? Because in the throws, just like in vault, safety is huge,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're throwing literal weapons around a field and hoping that people don't get hurt. Now, when you're doing it right, you can do it safely, effectively, and you're good. But even people who've done this for decades can still be at risk of getting hit with something,
Yep.
right?
Like, well,
So what we did is we established what we called the gauntlet. And so imagine, if you will, a football field or maybe a little bit longer. And we would have, because I don't think running should necessarily be a punishment, especially in a sport that is based on running. But I do think that there needs to be a standard that if we screw up, there's something we can do to fix this, right? We'd blow the whistle, you'd start running. Every time you blow the whistle, it's 10 push ups, 10 sit ups. But now you're transitioning to a new thing. So you go from sprinting to high knees to butt kicks to leapfrogs or bear crawls.
huh.
And every time that whistle blows, you got to stop, 10 push ups, 10 sit ups. And you as a group are going down the field and coming back. So 200 yards of this, right?
Mhm.
And here's the deal. We do it once in the beginning of the year so everyone knows, safety wise, if we're all going to achieve our goals and we're not being safe, this is what will happen.
Mm.
My first year, I had to do the gauntlet 4 times with a group when I was at that school. Every year after that, we only had to do it that first time.
Good.
Now, the first time I do it, I have them do it in a gym, like on a basketball court. So it's not nearly as long, right?
Yeah.
But when we transitioned outside and they're like, we have to do this the whole field. Oh, you bet. Let's
So
go, friendo.
I have questions. So like, how do they know the transition from like sprinting to like the bear crawls or the high knees? Like,
So we tell them like right from the get go, we're gonna sprint. Then it's gonna go into high knees. Then it's gonna go into butt kicks. Then it's gonna go into leapfrogs.
oh, so
Like we
like
tell them in the beginning.
every
Every
whistle,
whistle.
after
So
that whistle, like
you're
you'll
running,
transition to high knees.
whistle, push up, sit ups. You're up. Now it's high knees.
Got it. Okay.
Whistle, push up, sit ups. Now it's butt kick, push up, sit.
Got
Like
it. Got it.
again, we do it once because I don't think physical activity should be a punishment, right? But the gauntlet is miserable enough. Nobody wants to do it again.
Mhm.
But those peers hold each other to accountable. Like I saw one kid who was a junior almost rip into a freshman or sophomore because they're just like, look, what are you doing? You cannot walk downfield without looking at the cage. Do you know that you could get hit? Do you know you could get hurt? And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna let him go. Like he's on a roll. He's got this. We're good.
Yeah.
And kid never walk downfield because that was one thing for us. Like anytime you walk away from a throwing area, you must walk backwards so you can see any implements coming at you.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Like,
Yeah. Like another thing that I do, and I haven't busted them out in a while. I have not been that mad, but I do this thing called 12s. Okay. So this is a more jumpers based one, but I think it's just as effective for sprinters because it's all about power. So they have to do 12 squats, 12 jumping squats, 12 lunges each leg, 12 jumping lunges each leg with no break. Usually by the end of it, their legs are very wobbly and feel like noodles and stuff like that. So yes, I agree and disagree on the exercise shouldn't be punishment, but the way I look at 12s is this is a power type exercise as well, so it's only going to make them better and stronger in the event.
That's fair. That's fair. I think with that one, ladies and gentlemen, we're probably going to call it for this episode. Hopefully, next episode that we will have Ramel and John on, who are our other 2 hosts on the show. We will have a few more topics that we can spin on the wheel next time as well that we didn't get to cover tonight. And then after another episode or 2, we'll replenish the wheel. We're also going to have guests coming up as well. That being said, for all of you who are watching or listening, if you have someone in mind or you yourself would like to come on and talk about track and field topics that are interesting to you or just want to join the panel for a night, right? reach out to us on Instagram or Twitter at the Emerging Elite Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, and I'm hoping Apple soon with the podcast, as well as YouTube for the video version. So for that being said, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you all next time.